Hey everyone, this is Shaun with the smoking section, and today we're going to be going over some tips and tricks on different ways of smoking cigars, some different tools that you can use, how to keep your humidors up to date and up to temperature, and we're going to dive right into it. So let's get started. So from our first tip, as you can see by the title, is matches. A lot of people are wondering, okay, I don't really want to use a lighter right now, I don't want to put the money into it, so every time I go to buy a couple cigars, they usually give me a pack of matches, but which ones are best? Well, I got examples for you. You have these wooden matches here that usually have a cardboard underneath, and with that cardboard, whenever you light those, they actually put a chemical that releases in with the smoke and with the heat. So if you're lighting these matches against your cigar, you might change the taste of the cigar a little bit, and it might not be a taste that you want to go for. So usually what you want to try and do is go for one of these wooden matches. If I can get them out, you want to go for one of these wooden matches. Now this one's a little bit longer, but the wood is actually going to be more natural, it's not treated, and it's going to be a little bit better, and it can hold the heat a little bit longer than a regular match box that you would get from like a Wawa or wherever you usually get those. So just keep that in mind when you're going to light up a cigar. So next tip, as you can see, lighters, and why are there so many? There are a lot of different lighters out there on the market right now, some that are huge, some that are pretty small. And then everybody's wondering, well, I have so many that have different burners on them. Mine has one, this one has two, this one has 3, 4, 5, and the list goes on and on. But which one would be best for you and your cigar? Well, I have a couple different ones here. Some that are on the lower end of life that only have one burner, a 2 burner, a 3 burner, and a 4 burner. So why so many? Well, depending on how big the cigar is and how much heat you want to put to it is usually determined by which lighter you want to use. The lighter that you're going to be using, depending on if it has 1 versus 4, is going to be how much you're going to torch or burn the end of your cigar. I personally love to use between a 2 and a 3 because it gives me just enough heat, but yet I'm not going through a bunch of butane either. Just think about it. The more burners that you have on that cigar, the more that you have to produce butane to keep all 4 of those lit. So usually I try to stay away from the 1s unless I'm smoking a really small cigar because I don't need all the extra heat towards a cigar. I usually like to stick around a 2 or a 3 just for the sheer fact of it burns evenly, I have more control with it, and it's usually a little easier to maintain my butane. So just keep that in mind next time you want to try and light up a cigar. Just think, bigger cigar, maybe a bigger flame. Smaller cigar, smaller flame. So keep it in mind. So before you even start getting into lighting that cigar, the first thing that you're probably going to want to do is you're going to want to cut it. And once again, so many cutters, and which one works for you? Well, I have a couple different ones here. First is a regular straight cut. This is the one that I always use. I very rarely use a V-cut, and I very rarely use a punch. Now you're probably saying to yourself, what's a V-cut, what's a punch? Well, on the bottom of this lighter, I actually have a punch, which makes a small little indent or a hole in the top of my cigar. The purpose for that is so that way, what I like to use it for, if I have a flavor tipped or a sweetened tipped cigar, I won't take away from that sweet tip that's on the top of the cigar. If I were to use a straight cut on that, I'm going to be gypping myself a lot of that sweetness that I was expecting on the top of that. For a straight cut, which I normally like to use for a lot of basically all the cigars that I smoke except for the sweet tipped ones, I'm going to be using that because it opens up the end of my cigar a bit more, and I'm not going to be fighting with the end of the cigar as much than put a punch or a V-cut in it. A V-cut is going to be a little bit of a combination of both, between a straight cut and a punch. It's going to be a little bit of a deeper and more open punch, but it's not also going to be taking away too much of the top of the cigar. Some people don't always like the tobacco that falls on their tongue with a straight cut that you might find. So a lot of people like to kind of have that in between. But depending on what you want to do and how you like your cigar tips to be when you're taking your first couple of puffs, that's what's going to determine what you want as your norm. And why not? Variety is the spice of life. So switch them up and try and do a couple and see which one you like best. So the fourth tip that I'd like to go over is humidor care. Why so complicated? Well, a lot of people are starting to switch over from humidors to Tupperware, and I'll tell you why. With humidors you have to season, and usually it takes anywhere from 48 hours to almost a week that you have to try and season your humidor and try and figure out what you're going to do with your sticks if there are already sticks in your humidor, or if it's a brand new one and you just bought some cigars with it, where do you keep them? A lot of people are starting to switch over to Tupperware, and they're throwing these in it, a Bovita pack. These Bovita packs come in a variety of sizes, and quite frankly, I personally like using Tupperware and Bovita packs a lot better because I don't have to worry about seasoning my humidor or trying to get it all up to snuff while my cigars are kind of sitting, waiting, and it's a pain in the butt sometimes. And especially depending on the big size of the humidor, that's going to determine how long you have to season it for. So a lot of people are starting to switch over to Tupperware and throwing Bovita packs in them as an easy, cheap way of doing it. Anybody can buy Tupperware at Walmart, Target, anywhere really. So just keep that in mind, that if you don't want to spend the money on a big expensive humidor, which some of them we all know can range anywhere from the low hundreds all the way up to thousands of dollars, only cost maybe $20 to $30 for a nice piece of Tupperware that you can keep nice and safe, keep your cigars in it, and you can throw a couple of Bovita packs in there as well. So keep that in mind next time you're trying to go out and buy a bunch of cigars but you don't really have a place to store them. So for my fifth tip, usually before you find a cutter, before you find a lighter, you want to try and find the one. The cigar that you want to smoke, whether it be your first one or just a new one in general. Some people will tell you, well, I just go in blind and I look for the coolest wrapper, or I look for this one, or I look for that one. And sometimes you can't always do that. And with so many choices and so many names that you hear, Churchills, Torpedoes, Torpedo Grandes, etc., etc., you don't really know what you're going to be looking for, especially for a first-time cigar smoker. So try and do your research. There are a lot of cigar websites now that will give you descriptions of the cigar, such as its strength, whether it's mellow to medium, medium to mild, mild to full body, or just all full body. A lot of times people think that they get sick because of the cigar, and usually it's not the case. A lot of people tend to get sick from cigars because they over-smoked the cigar, or it was too strong for them to smoke to begin with. And that's when the cigar really kind of kicks you in the butt. So do your research if you're a first-time cigar smoker, and if you're looking to try something, ask the person at your local cigar shop to see if they've smoked it, or see if they even have any ideas about it, to try and give you a better idea about what you're looking to do. It can't hurt, and it will never be a dumb question, so that way you can protect yourself and the rest of your night if you smoke the wrong cigar. So just keep that in mind, and always remember, it doesn't hurt to ask questions. That's what people in cigar shops are there for, to answer your questions and try and guide you to a nice smoking experience. So, tip 6, pairing. Where do you start? Well, let's see. You got your lighter, you got your cut, you picked out the perfect cigar, and now you want to have something nice to drink with it, but you're not sure where to go with it. One thing that I always try to keep in mind whenever I'm pairing my cigar with something that I drink is, what's the strength of the cigar? If I'm smoking a very full-bodied cigar, I usually try to pair it with something that, not that I don't care too much about, but something that has a good flavor, but I'm not dependent on that flavor. If I have something that I really enjoy, such as Buffalo Trace or Jack Daniels, and I really enjoy that flavor, I'll try and go with a cigar that usually has not as much of a flavor profile, so that way I can still enjoy the smoke, but I really enjoy the drink that goes with it. There are some cigars that are out there, such as Perdomo's line of the Craft series, that actually enhance the flavor of the cigar and the beer that it goes with. So whether it's a light beer, a blonde beer, a lager, whatever the case may be, there was a cigar for that would help enhance the flavor of the cigar and also with the beer. But not every cigar comes with an instruction manual. A lot of times it's what you want to play with. Some people like to pair their cigars with coffee, Coke, root beer, soda even. It all depends on your palate and what you want to try and pair it with. But if you really enjoy one or the other, pick that one that you want to go towards and maybe pair it with something that you're not overly thrilled with, or you like, but you'd rather enjoy the taste of the cigar versus the whiskey or scotch or bourbon that you're pairing it with. So just keep that in mind, and hopefully you'll find the best match possible for you. So, tip number 7 is cigars, wrapped or unwrapped. And usually this question comes a lot for whenever I work in a cigar shop, that whenever they buy a cigar that's wrapped versus a cigar that's unwrapped, how would they store them And would they take all their cigars out of the wrapper? Even the ones that don't come in a wrapper, can they store them together? Do they keep them individualized and keep them in their wrapper? Well, for me, I enjoy keeping all my cigars in their wrapper, and I also enjoy keeping the ones that aren't in a wrapper separate. I know that it doesn't really matter too much to some people, but for me, I don't ever want to get the of one that hasn't a wrapper and one that does have a wrapper. I like to try and keep them separated. And sometimes, depending on the cigar, if it comes from the same company, I might keep them together only because a lot of times the same cigar company will usually keep some of those same flavors in there with different cigars. So it kind of makes it it doesn't really matter to me situation. But if they're two different brands, I always keep my cigars that come in cellophane, I keep them in there. And the ones that don't, I will wind up keeping those in a separate container, just so that way I don't have to worry about cross-contamination. So just keep that, see if you have any trouble as well. So, tip number 8. A lot of people want to know, how can I light a cigar? I know that you just put the flame to the end of it and you probably take a couple puffs. But for me, there is a ritual that I like to enjoy to do whenever I light up a stick. So usually whenever I light up a stick, I will literally hold the cigar on a 45-degree angle and I will bring the torch to the bottom of it while rotating around the cigar, making sure that I get everything nice and even, but also concentrating on the middle of the cigar to make sure that that cherry is nice and red. Now, after I had already clipped it, and I'm doing this process, what I like to do is I will actually blow on the cigar outward while I have the flame out, so that way anything that's kind of just laying in there, anything is going to get burned up by that flame. Then, once I get through that, I'll literally hit the flame, and I'll go ahead and I'll just keep puffing on it a few times, and you might see a bit of fire coming up from the end, but that just means that it's nice and hot and it's taking to the flame. A lot of people do it in a different way, but that's what way works best for me, and I always seem to get a nice even burn with the cigars that I do that way. So try it and see if you like it. Maybe you'll find a different way, maybe you'll find the same way works for you. Either way, let me know and see if it works. So, tip 9. The beetle ate my cigar. A lot of us go into a cigar shop wondering, oh, what cigar am I going to pick today? And we go to the best one that we like or the one that we enjoy the most. And it's wrapped in cellophane, or it might be open, and we just grab it without even realizing that there was a silent cigar killer that had just had its breakfast, lunch, or dinner not so long ago before it got into that cigar shop. And it's going to completely ruin your day. Yes, my friends, there is a beetle that can actually get wrapped up in the tobacco, and it'll eat its way out and go through the cellophane. So one thing you always want to be sure of, especially if you're in a new cigar shop or just traveling for a little bit and you stopped in and got yourself a stick, check your sticks. A lot of times the holes are very, very small. They're only about 1/8 of an inch big, and the holes are even smaller than that. So check your cigars and make sure, because there's been a few times I've picked up cigars and brought them to the front counter and said, you might want to check your cigars. There was a beetle hole in 2 of them. Just check the rest of your stock. Always check and look, because you might not even notice it. It might be towards the end of the wrapper where you normally don't look, or it might be towards the end of the paper. The beetle might not have even chewed its way out through. It might have found its way through the opening and came out without even knowing it. So just check your cigars and always make sure you check for those little beetle holes, because they can definitely ruin your experience, ruin your cigar, and ruin your day. So for our last and final tip, tip 10, enjoy the moment. This one's a little bit self-explanatory, but I figured I'd take the time to remind everybody. We all come together to smoke cigars because we all love the taste, or we just want to start getting into a hobby that really seems to be taking off these last couple of years. And especially with coronavirus right now, we have more cigar smokers now more than ever. So take the time, and especially if you are still able to go into a cigar lounge, or even if you're just outside at the park and you see another fellow cigar smoker, just take the time and enjoy the moment, and maybe even make a new friend. Make some time to try and get to know one another. Whenever we have a cigar, it's because we all love the taste, we all love the project, we all love the artwork of the roll, or even the artwork of the band. So enjoy the moment, enjoy the cigar, and don't smoke it too quickly. There's a lot of things going on in this world right now that have the news all wacky. There's a bunch of stuff out there, and you just don't need the negativity sometimes. So kick back, relax with a great cigar, and maybe make a new friend, find somebody that you might have something in common with, or somebody that you come from two totally different worlds and you really never even decided to talk to each other. So just enjoy that time you have with you, with your cigar, with your new friend, and just take it for what it is and just enjoy it. So that's going to be it for our tips and tricks here in the smoking section. But I want to remind you that we do cigar reviews live on YouTube. And this week, on Monday, which will probably be tomorrow, 24 hours from now, we will be doing the Gimmick by Cigar Dojo. And I'm really excited to light this stick up. And yes, they did give me these 3D glasses. So I'm going to be doing that cigar review tomorrow at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see you guys there. And once again, if you guys like these videos or you have any other comments or a tip that maybe I didn't say and you want me to say it on one of the videos, please let me know. And if you like the channel and you like these videos, please hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell to give you notifications to let you know that, hey, I'm going live or a new video popped up. From the smoking section, my name is Shaun, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next one. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll catch you guys then. Till then, stay blessed, stay smoking. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.